Hey everybody, Stock Green the Road Scholar coming at you. No, I haven't been on here in a while, but I had to get on here about this podcast I would listen to. This is not going to be a video about trucking. I know that's usually what I do, but this one is this is podcast here a couple of days ago that really kind of creeped me out and everything, especially since I have daughters and my wife is home alone a lot and everything, but not that worried about my wife falling for this. But a lot of us have children out here, girls and everything, daughters who are becoming of age, going to college, going out, meeting people, moving away from home. And this podcast kind of freaked me out. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. Now, the podcast I got the information from is called Crime Junkies. The episode was called Operation Fireball, and I'll get into what happened here in just a minute. But guys, I want you to listen to this real closely, because this kind of stuff is happening not just in this one instance, which was about 9 years ago that they're talking about the podcast, but after they did a follow-up, they found out it's happening all across the country and in different cities, different places, but it's the same thing happening. So I'm going to get right into what is happening. This podcast was originally done about this girl named Jez on a podcast called Something Was Wrong, hosted by Tiffany Reese. Later on, the Crime Junkies, these two ladies, did a follow-up episode on their podcast talking about it, and part one and part two, and afterwards, asked for people to send out emails if anything like this has happened to them, and they got an overwhelming response from across the country about this thing happening. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit about what happened, and I'm going to warn you, this is really, really creepy stuff, okay? So, what happened back in 2013, this girl named Jez moved from Idaho to Colorado. And she was new to the area and everything. And back then, we all know the internet, was just the internet dating and things were just kind of getting off. Tinder was like brand new at the time and everything. But anyway, she gets on this dating site called Plenty of Fish. It was a dating website. And she sees, going through there, and she sees this one guy's online named Jordan, and really, she says he was a good-looking guy, green eyes, athletic build, olive skin, really good-looking guy and everything. So they talked for a little while on there and everything, a few hours. Not really talking, but texting back and forth, messaging. And then he says, hey, why don't we meet for drinks and dinner? And she's like, okay, and he suggests a place that's, in the middle of downtown Denver called the Old Chicago, and, a bar, dance floor, everything, little dining area and everything, pretty big place. So she's like, she's going to take precautions, though. It's going to be a public place, which he already suggested, a public place and everything. So, she's feeling comfortable with that. And now I know a lot of you guys are going, oh, yeah, but you should never be one. This is a different world. People meet on dating sites. Our kids are going out to college and everything, and they're going to meet people. They may meet them on dating sites and go out and meet people. And she took the precautions. She took her own car, so in case things don't go well, she can go to home by herself or whatever. And like I said, this is only her first meetup with the guy. So, everything, public place, all the precautions, got her phone number and everything, got his phone number. And they're texting, using each other's phone numbers on the way there. So anyway, a couple hours later, she shows up at this place called the Old Chicago in downtown Denver. And as she's almost there, the guy that she's supposed to meet, Jordan is his name, texts her and says, hey, I'm running a little bit late. Why don't you go to the bar, order 2 fireballs, shots of Fireball, and when I get there, we'll grab a table and grab dinner. And this girl's not a big, shot drinker or anything, but she's like, cool, it's the first time out for a while and everything. So she says, okay. She goes into the bar, sits down, and orders 2 shots of Fireball. And the bartender serves her 2 shots and everything. And she's waiting on the guy to show up. Well, while she's waiting, another guy comes into the bar and sits down like a couple of seats down from her. And he's just sitting there, kind of, chilling, doing his own thing. And she gets a text from the guy she's supposed to meet. And he says, I'm still running late. I'm in traffic. I'm going to be a little bit later. And she's like, okay, no big deal. She's waiting. And so while she's waiting, though, this other guy starts talking to her. Hey, how's it going and everything? You're here alone, whatever, small talk. And she's like, no, I'm meeting somebody and whatever. So about 10 minutes goes by and she gets another text from this guy supposed to be on his way. He says, well, I've been pulled over by the police. I got pulled over and everything. She's like kind of getting suspicious now a little bit, going, hey, what? You were just in a traffic jam, now you're getting pulled over. So she starts getting the feeling maybe she's being stood up. And this other guy continues talking to her and everything. She's like, oh, man, I can't believe it. I think I've been stood up and everything. And the guy 2 seats down says, hey, well, since you've been stood up and everything, do you mind if I buy you dinner? And she's like, no, that's okay. I was just here to meet somebody and everything, So she's good. I'll pay for my own dinner and everything. So he keeps trying to talk to her, and he goes, well, can I at least, come sit by you and we talk, whatever? And she's like, sure, whatever. She's there to meet the people anyway. So he sits down next to her and they start talking. And a few more minutes goes by and she gets another text from the guy. And he's still running behind. At this point, she goes, oh my God, I think I've been stood up. Which, is common, that's what anyone would be thinking. And the bartender, it's been so long, 15, 30 minutes or everything. So the bartender offers to put the 2 shots in the cooler and everything till the guy shows up, And she notices the waitress is very attentive and everything, which is kind of odd because usually when you're sitting at the bar, the waitress doesn't really help you. It's the bartender, especially in a bar that's mostly empty. This time of day, it was pretty empty. But the waitress and the bartender are really attentive. She's like, wow, great customer service and everything. And the guy keeps offering, hey, look, I'll buy you dinner. Don't make this total bust. You're a really pretty girl. And she says the guy was a really good looking guy and everything, but she just, already been stood up once. She did, ready to call it out basically, but, she's going to finish her dinner that she already ordered. She goes, no, I got it, whatever. And the guy says, well, why don't we go down the street to this margarita bar? There's another margarita bar down the street and everything. And she's like, well, no, not right now. But anyway, she has to get up. She goes to the restroom. When she walks into the restroom, I know this story sounds kind of prolonged and everything, but when she goes to the restroom, she walks in, and before she can even make it to her stall, she hears the door open behind her. And it's the waitress. And the waitress is looking at her like real frantic. And she's like, I know this is going to sound crazy. She goes, but I need to talk to you. And the girl's like, okay. She tries to make a joke out. Well, we really haven't known each other that long, And the waitress just isn't joking. She's like frantic, kind of like nervous, scared and everything. And she goes, look, this is going to sound crazy, but the guy that she goes, I don't know however you got here and everything, but this guy planned it. And she goes, well, I'm not really worried about it. He didn't even show up. She goes, no, I'm not talking about the guy you're supposed to meet. I'm talking about the guy that's sitting next to you now. And this kind of freaks this girl, Jez, out. So what Jez does is she's like, what are you talking about? She goes, look, I'm going to tell you something. She goes, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we've seen this guy in here before. And it always seems to be the same thing. A lady comes in, sits at the bar, orders 2 fireballs. This guy sits down like a couple seats from her, and the lady's always there to meet somebody, come up here to meet somebody, and the one she's supposed to meet never shows up. And this guy always offers to buy them dinner, and she goes, most of the people do accept it. They go sit down at the table and everything, and a couple hours later, they leave together. She goes, but what we've noticed is this guy, the girl is always a lot more intoxicated than she should be with the amount that she's drank. But they always end up leaving together. Well, this kind of freaks Jez out. So Jez's like, well, okay, I don't know what to do at the time because now he's been out here with my wallet. I left my purse next to him. So, he can look at my, my ID or anything by this time. She goes, so what? So the bartender goes, look, we're just going to keep an eye on you and everything. That's the reason we've been watching you because we've been kind of suspicious of this guy. And we don't know what's going on, but every time he comes back, it's never with the same person, and he's always alone, and he's always meets up with some girl that has been waiting to meet someone else. Now, Jess kind of starts thinking about this and everything, but she goes back out. She goes, okay, I'm just going to act normal. That's kind of freaky, but I'm going to act normal, sit down. So she goes back out, sits down. The guy keeps talking to her, and she keeps trying to invite her out to different places, and she's like, no, I'm just going to eat. And finally, after about 30 minutes, she just says, no, look, if I'm going to be normal, this will get on anyone's nerves. So she confronts the guy. Look, I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm just going home. I'm just going to eat my dinner, hang out here for a little while. I'm not going anywhere with you. Would you leave me alone? The guy gets all ticked off, pissed off and everything, gets up and leaves. Just mad. But even at that point, he's going, you really should just go with me, go get something to drink down here. I'm just trying to be nice. You've got stood up. And she's like, look, I'm fine. I don't need to be hanging out with anybody. Just leave me alone. So the guy leaves. Now, a lot of us would be going, oh, red flags everywhere. But the thing is, she did say that the entire time she was waiting, she's getting texts from this other guy, Jordan. The guy sitting down 2 seats from her was never messing with his phone. So he couldn't be sending. But what I didn't tell you is, during this time that she was waiting on this guy, Jordan, she decided to call Jordan on the phone and talk to him personally and find out what's going on. Maybe she could hear something in his voice. When she calls the number's off. It's not even an existing number. She's been texting someone on her cell phone with either a clone number or something like that. The phone number doesn't even exist. Red flags. So anyway, the bartender and the waitress, they said that they have seen this guy in there several times before. The podcast goes off and everything, just kind of a warning. Well, when they put the call out to get more emails from anyone else that's heard from this or anything, find out this is happening all over the country, people. Where guys are beating girls in bars, or supposed to, they don't show up, and the girl ends up going home with some guy she's never met, or leaving the bar, not necessarily going home or whatever, and leaving the bar with someone they've never met, who, and the same things all over the country. It's always 2 drinks at the bar. And now no one knows for sure what's going on with this, because it really hasn't been reported but a couple of times in the past. And the FBI is going, this sent up red flags to the FBI. They're like, something is definitely not right here. Somehow, what people don't realize is how much they're being manipulated. These girls are being manipulated into signaling, and without even realizing it, to someone else to who to hit on. Meaning, when the girls go in, the guy, Jordan, told her, order 2 fireballs, wait at the bar, and when I get there, we'll get a table. Now, normally, you would not read anything into that, but what he is doing is he is setting up the scene so that the other guy, or possibly himself, can come in somehow and know who she is, and know what she's there for, and know she's going to be stood up, and start playing on that from get-go. And it's been happening. It's happened in Florida. It's happened in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. It's happened in Detroit. It's happened all over the country, in California, everywhere. So I want you guys to be aware of this and have a talk with your daughters, women, ladies who are watching this also. Have a talk with your daughters, your sisters. I mean, any female that needs to know about this. And the only reason I'm sharing this is because I found it so awkward when I listen to these podcasts, and you can go look it up on Crime Junkies. The one podcast is called Operation Fireball, and then Operation Fireball 2.0, where they come out and talk about other people that this has happened to. But even though it was back in 2013, they found the bartender and the waitress that was working back then, and they did an interview with them. And you guys, if you can, you really need to go hear that interview and find out how this is working. Now, a lot of females would go, but they said the whole time they do not remember him texting on his phone, which the FBI investigator that they talked to an interview during this, yes, they had an interview with the FBI agent and everything about it. The FBI agent says they're probably not working alone, and this could be a form of human trafficking, part of a human trafficking ring, where they are meeting women that are new to areas, that are trying to get out and meet people and everything, which everyone knows nowadays a lot of people are doing that on the internet, Tinder, these dating sites and everything. But these people are setting it up where they are basically meeting people that are new, and women that are new in an area don't have very many friends. So really no one would really notice her missing for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, except maybe her job or school or something, but even then, a couple of days, job might think it's just someone flaky or whatever, no one would really report it. So these women could come up missing for a while, and the trail could go stone cold without anyone really realizing what's happening. Now, Jez did go back home, and she did report this to the police. She called the police. The police like, well, there really hasn't been a crime committed. And you got to understand, guys, when something like this happens, the police don't really know how to react to it either. Internet crimes, things that start on the internet and everything, the police are not really all that up to date on this kind of stuff. Now, it's getting better as time goes, but they're still behind on how to react to these things. But the FBI did say, if this has ever happened to you, you need to report it, because they have to build a profile of what's going on. And it has happened a lot, obviously, because of all these, the podcast, they literally got over 500 emails and messages and stuff about the same thing happening to other of their listeners and things. And so this is just on a podcast. This isn't a news story. This is just people listening to a podcast that the same sort of thing has happened to. Sometimes it'd be a different drink or something, but a lot of them was the same drink, the fireballs. Guys, warn your children, warn your sisters, warn the females in your life about this kind of thing, because if this is as prevalent as it seems to be, and it's going under the radar, and it's hard to even look up on the internet, because I try to look it up and everything, it's not really being reported out there a lot. A lot of females that this may have happened to, maybe, I don't know what happens, when they do leave with the females or anything. None of that has came out yet or anything. But if it is possible these women are being sexually targeted, they may be so embarrassed or think that they did something that brought this on or something, they may just not be reporting it. So, or even worse, if they end up being abducted and put into a human trafficking ring, may never be reported. So, guys, ladies, truckers, anyone out here, share this video so that the females can know what's going on out here and how this thing is operating. And because to me it just sounds really, really creepy. You know, it sounds like I can't see any good part coming out of this. So I wanted to put that warning out here. I have 2 daughters. You know, I have a wife at home. I have sisters. You know, this is something that everyone needs to be aware of. And I know it's hard to combat crimes that happen, you know, date rape and things like that, but knowledge helps. You know what I'm saying? So they need to know that if they're invited somewhere and this kind of scenario happens where the guy don't show up but some stranger starts talking to him and everything, you might need to do a little bit more investigating. Call back the numbers. Don't just go meet somebody from texting. You know, call back the numbers if you're going to meet someone and something seems odd. Make sure it's a real person on that end. Make sure your friends have that phone number. Make sure that the stuff is locked in on your phone and on your home computer, so that if something does happen to you, the police at least have IP addresses. I know that gets into a whole lot of technical stuff and everything, but I also study a lot of cybercrime, so that they have somewhere to start. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that every time you meet someone is going to be bad. I'm saying watch yourselves. Be prepared. You know what I'm saying? Be safe. I just had to put that out there because this was really, really freaky. I'm not home with you know, my children a lot and everything. They're grown. You know, my one daughter's married. The other one's out on her own and everything. And you dang well believe I'm going to be talking to them about this. So that's what I suggest, guys. Share the video. Talk to your female friends, your daughters, your sisters, whatever, about this kind of stuff. Especially if you have girls that are moving to new areas, like your daughter's going to college somewhere new, or they're going to take a job somewhere new or something, moving out of the area. Talk to them about this stuff. Let them know, you know, if you do go out and meet someone like that, give us a call. Let us know when you're there, when you're leaving. Check in with us on texting once every so often to make sure that, you know, we're keeping track of you and where you're at and everything during the date. These are precautions we can all, you know, take out here and everything to make. You're never going to eliminate everything, but it will help, you know. Wow, completely crazy. But I wanted to put that out there because the world is getting crazier. We do know that sex trafficking is on the rise. Truck drivers are very involved in trying to help combat it and things, where we go to classes to learn how to combat things that we see out here. And I just wanted to put this out here as one more thing that, guys, we need to be looking out for. And this isn't just truck drivers, this is anybody. When you see things or you hear, you know, people are meeting people, and your children, your daughters are probably going to be embarrassed to talk to you about their because the older generations don't really understand the internet and how prevalent it is into dating and meeting people now. So rather they are or not, or rather it's just you try to make it a funny conversation or whatever, sit down with your daughters and your sisters and anyone and tell them, look, ladies, not trying to scare you, but this is what's happening out here. So if you are going to meet someone on the internet, not saying you will, but if you are, please let somebody know. Please check in every so often, like every 30 minutes, every hour or so that we know what's going on, so that if something does happen, we at least have a place to start. Wow, that video sucked to make. Really, really creepy stuff going on out here. Anyway, that's it for this one. Have a good one.